அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். It all happened 2 months ago in Coimbatore. I was sitting with my team in the Coimbatore branch and I was telling, what is the topic you folks want me to talk about this time? And they said, what is that you have in mind? I said, something to do with the past, something where we can learn from. வடிவாக்கமும் வள்ளுவமும், வடிவாக்கலும் வள்ளுவமும், வடிவாக்கலும் வள்ளுவமும். புரியல. டிசைன் ரெலவன்ஸ் ஆஃப் திருக்குறள்னு சொன்னோன்னு புரிஞ்சுது. கரெக்டா? தமிழ் ரொம்ப தூரம் தாண்டி வந்துட்டோம். கரெக்டா? The inspiration of this comes from, as our chief guest said, I was thinking about how I came about this topic. It was actually connecting dots. The message is being delivered, but the message force is from someplace else. The infinite force. I read an article recently in the paper where a music CD was launched. I do not know how many of you know about it. Traditional music, Thirukkural being sung in traditional music. The music album was released recently. This must have been stored somewhere in the mind. And then we keep talking about design all the time. So why can't we learn from the past? And then I went back and looked at an incident in 1994. I will come to that incident subsequently down the line. But the greatness of this sage of Tamil Nadu is so high, words cannot express. ஆலும் வேலும் பல்லுக்கு உறுதி, நான்கும் இரண்டும் சொல்லுக்கு உறுதி, நாலடியார், 2 குறள், சொல்லுக்கு உறுதி. That's so fascinating. Translated in over 80 languages. The largest single translation of any book in the world other than the Holy Bible. The people who conduct a lot of research on this language and this particular treatise are the Japanese. Are we aware of it? I said, I'm going to take this topic up and hope divinity will prevail upon me to provide some message to you all from the past. It is not easy to go through this and present its relevance in today's concept, especially when we start believing in engineering more than we believe in faith. Agreed? So, this presentation is going to be about Thirukkural's contribution with respect to design. அது பொய்யா மொழி. கரெக்டா? தமிழ் மறை. 9,310 words cannot be wrong. 7 into couplets, right? 1,330. So let us look at what this Tamil savant has said in the past, which may be of relevance. But before we go through that, I want you to look at, it's not working. Can you go on to the next slide, please? What happened? We will be looking at the designs of the past, the current trends in designs, what is in store for the future, the intrinsics of the design process, message of Thirukkural, learning from others, and finally finish it off with self-belief. When we look at the designs of the past, the first thing that came to my mind was the sewing machine. Elias Howe was looking at how his mother was stitching when he came up with the design of the sewing machine. And the design that he came up with had nothing to do with the two pairs of hands which were stitching it together. One thread, two pairs of hands, a pair of hands, it got transformed into two threads, one hand. The needle with the eye at the top was how she designed, how she was stitching it. The needle with the eye at the bottom is how he designed it. Are we clear? So what we are looking at in terms of productivity, he demonstrated it in this machine. In this machine, which has evolved over a period of time, you can see the usage of the entire body in beautiful rhythmic coordination when you put the tapestry together to stitch the cloth to produce that beautiful design of yours. You can see it in every corner of India and even in front of your house when he brings it in. Right? It's a marvel of the past. It was holistic. Why is it holistic? Holistic means everything coming together and talking in reference of the system as a whole, not part thereof. That's what is holistic. That's what this design is all about. Next we look at our own traditional music, Nadaswaram and Davil. Wind instrument, percussion instrument. When you close your eyes and listen to the Davil, you can visualize the dance of Shiva. The Nadaswaram does not require an amplifier. In fact, it is wrong to sit in front of a microphone and play the Nadaswaram. The Nadaswaram should be played without a microphone or an amplifier because it's an amplifier unto itself. Two beautiful designs. I do not know how many of you had the privilege of watching how a Nadaswaram is made from Achamaram, a very rare maram, where the wood is taken from over 90 years of seasoning of that wood, which is brought from your nilaigal of your house. That's the wood that is used for that. The tinsel quality of the tonal vibrations which come out of it, the designer of that was telling with a lot of pride, all the Vidwans come to my house and play the Shanmuga Priya and play the Kalyani, and I say whether it is okay or not before they buy my Nadaswaram and go. Each Nadaswaram is made for that particular person. See how beautiful our designs are? The cow hide and the goat skin are used in your Davil. Natural process selections without disturbing nature. Imposing designs. See, we always look at quality, we always look at precision. 0.001 is one way of expressing precision. The other way of expressing precision is 1/1000. It's the same, right? The structure you are looking at is 1/1000. The watches you have is 001. Are we able to understand? The larger you go, the distance between the earth and the sun is the denominator, leading to precision. So there was a clock for the village while we have watches for ourselves. Are you able to see it? Expand the denominator, the precision comes by itself. That's what the sundial tells you. These were the revelations of the past, all hidden underneath. For the seekers, it is waiting to return. We are using all these ubiquitous tools and technologies. One of the things that I am a little worried about is we don't seem to be having a hands-on experience with regard to our own designs. We don't get a good feel of the design by touching it, by working with it, greasing your palms, You know, we are losing the touch with reality. This is one experiment that contributed to the independence of India, the charkha. We remember it on October 2nd, but there are lots still silent families which are wheeling it out day in and day out, earning their bread in terms of khadi. This is another innovation which the West is trying to come up with because of the quality of the yarn that you produce out of this. It is astounding. Designs of the past, societal causes. What you are seeing here is a stepped well in Rajasthan. When the outside temperature is 65 degrees and there is no vegetation whatsoever in the desert sands, suddenly you find the stepped well where the rainwater has been stored or harvested in the aquifer at the bottom, and the women and the men of Rajasthan go down to pick it up. How did they do this? How did they contain the evaporative losses? More than 600 years old. It's still in practice even today. We are talking about rainwater harvesting, right? Water is very important for us these days, right? Don't you think so? It's been in the news for the wrong reasons, right? Huh? That's what it is. If you look at seeking precision, you look at the gyroscope. It is there in most of your mobiles today, showing you orient it, it turns around. It all comes from the gyroscope, right? These are all things of the past. I have specifically put this, most of them, in black and white because I want you to see the clarity behind it. Lessons have to be learnt in design. Look back. Connect the dots. Where are we today? We are progressing, no doubt about that. We are getting in. I told you, past, present and future. Now we have to look at the present. The current trends that we are looking at is, we are looking at productivity increase. More for less. Machines doing everything. Your cone ice cream, your ice cream bars, your biscuits, your potato chips, your noodles. Everything is coming in packed form, right? It's all packaging machinery, sorting equipment. Every day I take a morsel of grain. Please believe me, I'm not doing a marketing pitch here. When I take a morsel of food and I eat it, I remember my customer called orange sorting. Because earlier we used to take the stones out of the rice. He is doing it for 70% of the people of India sitting in Coimbatore. 31 CCD cameras sorting the rice, grains and things like that. We are looking at staying connected. We are news hungry, information hungry. So these are the devices that are pulling us apart every day, day in and day out. Even now, you keep getting messages, you keep listening to conversations on the phone, hushed sounds, right? This is what we are into these days. And last but not the least, a lot of times you have a problem with energy, right? There is a constraint, and that constraint is the global warming, forcing us to look at alternative energy resources. Yes or no? It's actually forcing us. India has signed the Climate Pact agreement. Why? It's forcing upon us. Nature has its own constraints upon us. We are but puppets on the chain. So if you are looking at windmills, if you are looking at solar energy, in fact India is going very big in solar energy these days. These are all the current trends of designs that we are employing ourselves with. In fact, a lot of people are getting jobs in these areas today because the market is expanding and the government is incentivizing them. More than that, what does that future holds for us? We have looked at the past, we have looked at the present, three pictures in the present. There are many more. We are progressing, no doubt, as mankind. But what does the future hold for us? Initially, it was the Industrial Revolution. Then came industrial automation. And subsequently came information technology. What next? Knowledge millennium. People who possess knowledge will rule the world. There are three different kinds of designs we can come up with. Derivative designs, where you take a design, you transform it a little bit more, little bit less, come up with a new design, which is based on the previous design. That's what most of us do, right? The second one is evolutionary design. You take a design, you transform it into a completely new design, but the whole design is still the father of it. And third one is innovative design. You start from a clean slate. D stands for derivative design. Future of that is dead. D for dead. E for evolutionary design. You will exist if you do it. I for innovative design. You will invade and conquer if you do it. We have no choice but to do the last one. Primarily because India is the key to mankind's progress, whether we like it or not. You want peace? Look at India. You want contentment? Look at India. You want innovation? Look at India. I for innovation, I for India. So what is it in future? Knowledge millennium, then faster absorption of technology. Faster production and absorption of technology. Consumption of technology at a very fast pace. Healthier lifestyle. Everybody is looking at now in the watches you are getting, how many feet you have traveled, right? How many calories you have burnt, all those things. At 10,000 rupees you can get the fate in your hands, right? So? Environmental consciousness. Nature is forcing you to do this. And last one is fierce competition for domination. So when you take an idea and you transform it into a design, into a product, this is where we need to look at the past, what Tirukkuṛaḻ has said in the past, and we can learn from it. It's astounding the kind of information that he has put together. So what is required for a design of the future, considering these 5 aspects which are going to rule our future? Customers wise, we always know that a product has to keep pace with changing customer preferences, exceeding customers' expectation, right? Statement of requirement comes from the customer's voice of the customer. What does Thirukkural say? ஒத்தது அறிவான் உயிர் வாழ்வான் மற்றையான் செத்தாருள் வைக்கப்படும் ஒப்புர வரிதல். One who knows what is required will live, rest will perish. See how beautiful it is. பொய்யா மொழியாயிற்று. எவ்வளவு அழகா சொல்லியிருக்கார். The voice of the customer. Quality driven. As our chief guest said, we were concentrating on quality. Today it is quality is ubiquitous. It needs to be enforced upon in design so that product defects can be eliminated by design. How does Thirukkural say this? Tinai thunayam kutram varinum panai thunaya kolvar palidanuvar. See how beautiful he is saying. A defect which is caught at the design stage costs the company very little. The same design, the same defect, when it is caught at the tooled up stage, costs you 1 arm and 1 leg in terms of surgical intervention. In retooling, the same problem, if it is at the customer's place, it's monumental disaster, right? So if the designer takes upon himself that even the smallest defect can amplify itself to the level of a panamaram, a palm tree, then the defects downstream are avoided. See how beautifully he has put it. For the defect conscious, even a millet-size defect will be considered palm size. How much more can it be enforced? So beautifully. One of the most important things about India is we are proud to say that we are an indisciplined lot. We love to be indisciplined. There is nothing wrong about it. I believe in it. You don't have to cross the white line, you will cross it. You don't want to cross the red light, you will cross it. Absolutely, right? Hey, that's where innovation comes in. Innovation does not come in with constraints. We are powerful innovators. How to avoid the policeman, right? Huh? But when it comes to transforming an innovation into a product without revisiting the design again and again, a disciplined process is a prerequisite. So if the product has to live its life to the fullest extent, the disciplined process is essential. This Kural actually changed my life. In 8th standard, there's a story behind it. Somehow I wanted to bring this Kural into my presentation today. I was asked to give, I was a teacher in my Padma Seshadri school. I was in my 8th standard. I was the group leader, different groups, and my group was Lotus. And they said, this Monday's thought for the day is Lotus group. Who's going to say? None of my fellow mates raised their hands. So she said, you are the group leader, you have to give the presentation. And my hand goes onto the mic, it's like a shivering leaf. I can't speak. What you see today is different from what it was earlier, right? I worked upon myself. At the time I came home and I was having a forlorn look. My father looked at me and said, is there any problem at school? Teacher திட்டினாங்களா? இல்ல அது விட மோசமா இருந்தது அப்படின்னா. என்னது அப்படி தாட் ஃபார் தி டே கொடுக்கணும் மண்டே இன்னைக்கு. கொடு. I can't speak. பிராக்டிஸ் பண்ணு. என்ன பேசுறது? அது எங்கிட்ட கேளு நான் சொல்லி தரேன். என்ன தாட் ப்ராசஸ், என்ன தாட் ஃபார் தி டே தெரியாது, ஏதோ ஒன்று எடுத்து சரி குறள் எடுத்துன்னு வா, ராஜாஜியோட டிரான்ஸ்லேட்டர் எடுத்துன்னு வா, கொடுத்துருக்கேன்ல உனக்கு. அந்த மாமனிதர் அடுத்த 30 நிமிஷத்துக்கு இந்த குறளும் இந்த குறள் நெறியினால் வரக்கூடிய கதைகளும் அறிவுரைகளையும் எனக்கு பகிர்ந்தார். I didn't realize that the 30 minutes presentation that he prepared for 10 minutes of thought for the day, I stood in front of the mirror and I kept on repeating it again and again. ஒழுக்கம் விழுப்பம் தரலான் ஒழுக்கம் உயிரினும் ஓம்பப்படும். Discipline in life is more precious than life itself. It is out of discipline that life derives value. I didn't realize I was transforming myself. Believe me, my disciplined thought process came from this Valluvanin Vaakku. And the following Monday, I stood there. It was supposed to be an extempore speech. I kept this paper in front of me. I had it known. My father called me and said, if you can't do it, nobody else can. Good luck to you. Just do it. And that word of encouragement, I was standing there and I was giving this in 10 minutes pin drop silence. Mrs. YGP, who was the principal then, she stood in rapt attention, listened to it, and then turned and said, child, who wrote this for you? I said, my father. Please convey my regards to him, and would I like to have a copy of this so that whenever there is a thought for the day not available, I would like to use this. And it kept, every month there used to be a day when this Kural used to be repeated again and again and again by some other speaker. So, if your product has to have a life, a service life, your process has to have a discipline. You see how Rajaji says at the bottom, discipline in life is more precious than life itself. It's out of discipline that life derives value. So beautiful. Mahatma Gandhi said, the maxims of Thirukkural are a moral beacon for mankind. He must have been given this when he was in the prison. Actually, his inspiration came from, he wrote to Leo Tolstoy, who wrote back to him in his formative years. He wrote back to him saying, non-violence in Thirukkural that I have read Leo Tolstoy writes this. Non-violence in Thirukkural that I have read from my German translation seems to be the most appealing way to go to lead a life, he says, and he wrote it in the letter to the Hindu, to Mahatma. And Mahatma was influenced by Thirukkural quite a bit. So when we take a design process and discipline it according to what Valluvan says, the life of the product is assured beyond the millennium. FMEA driven design, failure modes and effects analysis. We always look at it. When we do an audit, we go and just do cut and paste of the previous DFMEA and put it over here. Come on, let's know it. Don't we do it? We inherit all those defects from the previous cut and paste. So what does it say? Predictive failure modes and effects analysis, Varumon Kapavan Arivali, is critical for product success as compared to root cause analysis after failure. Yes or no? Ennit tuniga karmam, tuninda pen ennuvam என்பது இழுக்கு. Think before you launch. Launch and then to think about it is sure recipe for failure. The more you start reading Thirukkural, any adhigaram, any couplet, more it tries to transform you. You don't know that it's happening to you. Intrinsically it happens to you. Performance benchmarking is essential in design, right? QFD, performance benchmarking. I love this slide. I love this slide. So process and product benchmarking are a prerequisite for the product success. Vinay valiyum, tan valiyum, matran valiyum, tunai valiyum thukki cheyal. See how beautiful it is. Valina valimai, capability. சரியா? வலிக்கிறதே சொல்றேன். Capability of our activity, process, our team's capability, which includes your suppliers and the competitors, அதான் மாற்றான் வலியும், needs to be determined for you to take action on your product. This is what is coming in your APQP, right? Yes or no? Is it relevant? So, in a lot of different ways, Valluvam touches you without you knowing it. When we are putting these kinds of designs together, the inspiration of this particular presentation came from the 1994 story I was about to begin in the beginning, right? I said I'll tell you later. This is where it comes. We all know 5 years, don't we? சரி, அதை நான் சைத்தான்னு படிச்சேன். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் படிக்கும்போது I was visiting the R&D department of a TVS சொல்லக்கூடாது பேரு, two-wheeler manufacturer in southern part of India. And the general manager of the division at that time, Dr. Ramani, was a very close friend of mine. He's a very close friend of mine. So I keep going to NTTF all the time. Today he's a professor he's a principal of the School of Postgraduate Studies there. And whenever I go to Bangalore, he says, come and give a lecture. So I go there and spend half a day with him. And he was there and I said, இது என்ன தெரியுமா, 5 வார்த்தை என்ன எழுதியிருக்கேன், என்ன இது அப்படின்னு கேட்டேன். 5 essay அப்படின்னு. என்னது அது? ஹிந்தி பேசக்கூடாதுங்கிறீங்க, வேற ஏதோ மொழி கொண்டு போட்டுருக்கீங்க. இந்திய மொழி மற்ற மொழி வேணான்றோம், ஆனா வேற ஒரு மொழி வந்திருக்குல்ல, நீ ஏன் இப்படி பேசுற அப்படின்னு. நல்லதே எடுத்துப்போமே. ஓ எடுத்துப்போம், தப்பே கிடையாது, நல்லதே எடுத்துப்போம். பாரதி சொன்னா கரெக்டா? என்னது சார் சொல்லுங்க, நீ அமெரிக்கால படிச்சுட்டு வந்திருக்கே, டோன்ட் யூ நோ 5 years in America people will kill you if you talk in Japanese and English. Why are we doing this? Then he said, sort, workspace segregation. Next, set in order, easy access and preventing wastage of time. shine, shoe shine Mary. Clean the environment, a clean environment and able tools. அடுத்தது standardize, process and orderliness, sustain, training and discipline. இது சொல்லும்போது என் வாய் சும்மா இல்லாம ஏன் சார் இது வந்து ஔவையார் எதுவும் சொல்ல இதுக்க அப்படின்னு கேட்டேன். நீ எப்பவுமே குதர்க்கம் தான் அப்படின்னாரு. I was doing some work with him on the TVS scooty. I was thinking about it 2 months ago, this conversation, which comes back to you, right? Connecting the dots. See, it connected by itself. And then I said, has Thirukkural said anything on 5 years? Huh? Has Thirukkural said anything on 5 years? பொருள் கருவி காலம் விடை இடனோடு ஐந்தும் ஐந்தும் இருள் தீர எண்ணி செயல். ஒரு கை தட்டுங்க சார் திருவள்ளுவர். இதைத்தான் நான் பார்க்க வேண்டும் உங்க மேனுஃபேக்சரிங்ல, உங்க ஒர்க் பிளேஸ்ல. It's not that Japanese words are any less. It's just that there is something more to it that Thirukkural has said beyond the 5 years. If you look at it very carefully over there. And what is that? To perform with thought and without doubt. அங்க போட்டார் பாருங்க, என்ன சொன்னாரு? அஞ்சு செய்யின்னு சொல்றாரு இல்லையா? He said the 5 S இல்லையா? அது என்ன சொன்னாரு? தெளிவா செய்யு, தெளிஞ்சதுக்கு அப்புறம் செய்யு. See, the people of India are great thinkers. The biggest problem with this is to think too much. It's good, it's okay. Self-introspection, nothing wrong in it. We think too much, but it's okay. Because we think, he said, endi chayal. Irul tira endi chayal. Clear all your doubts. And then put it together. The same 5 years. But in Thirukkural form, it was 70. 7 7 வார்த்தைகள்ல 5 years வந்தது. அதுல 2 எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சொன்னாரா? டவுட் கிளியர் பண்ணிக்கோ, யோசிச்சு செய்யினார், செய்யாத. See, the samurai tribe never thinks. Please understand, the Orientals have nothing to do, nothing against them. They always take orders and say you do it, they will do it. தமிழர்களும் இந்தியர்களும் அப்படி கிடையாது. ஒரு வாட்டி 10 வாட்டி யோசிப்பேன், எதுக்கு செய்ய சொன்ன நீ இப்போ? சார் இதோட பெட்டரா செய்யலாம் சார், அப்ப செய்ப்போம். அப்ப அந்த இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன் போயிடும். You understood what I am saying, right? Primarily because we are great thinkers. It is in our DNA. You can't take it out. That innovation requires that. That's why he said, Irul tira enni cheyal. What more can be better than this? So when you are transforming an innovation into a product, look back at what this Tamil sage has said. We are all designers, right? We are all mothers carrying the child called products that we are designing. We are trying to give birth to new products and new technologies as the Brahmas of engineering. I was reminded of the 47th convocation of IIT Madras, when Sri Gopal Krishna Gandhi was presiding over the degree award function. And I was sitting in the back and I was listening to him. Closing my eyes, I just wanted to listen to him. And I could hear Rajaji and Mahatma Gandhi, his two grandfathers, sitting and delivering the sermon. As he was telling, to all you young children I say, you have a choice of becoming Shiva the destroyer, Vishnu the preserver, or Brahma the creator. We seem to be creating too many. We seem to be destroying too many. Why don't we, for a change, start preserving? This is what he said. So, when we are putting a design together, we don't want the design to die. We want the design to have a great future, that product to have a great future, because it goes through the mother's pangs, which is your pang, in making sure that the product comes out successfully, success does not lie in bringing birth to the product, but success lies in this statement, ஈன்ற பொழுதினும் பெரிதுவக்கும் தன்மகனை சான்றோன் என கேட்ட தாய். If your design has to succeed, if your child, your products have to come into the marketplace, you are the mothers. You are the mothers, your design is your child. Your product is your child. If they have to succeed, then சான்றோன் என கேட்ட தாய், you will have the fulfillment of having designed, having created great products only when your customer says, Sabash Raja. So in other words, just as a mother cherishes more when her child is praised than when born, similarly, your product will give you the fulfillment not when it is born, but it has been put into service and it just does not die. Thank you.